Hi, today we're going to continue exploring some of the things you can do with your type. If you missed the first lesson, the link is in the description for this one. This is where we left off before. It doesn't look hideous, but I'm not really happy with it. Let's fade from the wood into the sketch. So we're going to select the sketch layer, and then in the layer panel we go down to the bottom and we click on the New Mask button. And that adds a plain white mask to the layer, which means that it doesn't change anything at all. It won't change the image yet because we didn't have anything selected. When you make a new mask with nothing selected, you get a blank white mask. White shows what's on the layer and black hides it. You can remember it because black hides in shadows and white shows clearly. Now we want the sketch to fade out gradually, and that means we want the gradient tool. So I'm just going to tap G to get it. We're working on a mask, so we want a black to white gradient. And to do that, we click on this reveal triangle that's just to the right of the gradients, and we can choose any of the ones that we want from this panel. So I'm going to choose the black to white. I want a linear gradient, so I'm going to click the linear button. Now, the way that a gradient works, the color on the left is the color that you get when you first click the mouse button, and then you can drag out for the length of the gradient, and when you release the mouse button, you'll get the color that's on the right. So we need to have black on the left, so we start by fading out and then fade in. So I'm going to uncheck reverse here, and that switches the gradient around, and it means we're going to start with black. Now, I don't know if you can really see the little cursor very well, but I'm in the left leg of the V, and I'm going to start where I want the sketch to begin to fade in, and I'm going to hold down the mouse button and hold down the Shift key so that I get a straight vertical gradient so it doesn't tilt at all, and then I'm going to just drag down to where I want it to be completely sketch, and when I let go, that's what I've got. Yeah. You know, I don't think that looks so wonderful. Let's set the blend mode on the sketch to screen. So go over here to the layer. I don't need to change which part is selected. I can just go over here to the blend mode and change that to screen. And when I let go, it hides the dark pixels and just shows the lighter pixels because that's what screen does. Yeah, no. You know what? Let's hide the wood completely by just clicking on that visibility icon. And let's also hide the mask, which I can do by holding down the Shift key and clicking on the mask thumbnail. And let's change the trees here. Let's re-invert them so that they're back to looking normal. This time, for those of you who don't like keyboard shortcuts, we'll just go over here to Image, Adjustments, Invert, so that you can see where that normally lives. Yeah. No, let's just hide this tree thing entirely. Oh, but that gives us white on white, so you can't see the sketch at all. So let's select the type layer. And now with the type layer selected, if we fill it with a color, it will only fill the type. So I can just hold down the Option key, that's Alt on a PC, and tap Delete or Backspace, and that fills it with a color. And that gives me exactly what I would have had if I had chosen a different color to begin with when I was making the sketch. Now that's no good. I know. Let's put a big gradient on top of this, the way that we thought we were going to do to begin with. So in order to do that, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and Command and tap N. That's Shift Control N on a PC, and that opens the new layer with a new layer dialog box, so I can name it when I start. So I'm just going to call it Gradient. That's very convenient. Just click OK. And because I'm working underneath layers, adding a new layer underneath layers that were already clipped, it is also automatically clipped, which is, once again, very convenient. So I still have the gradient tool. Let's go back to that blue, red, yellow gradient that we thought we were going to get to start with. So I'm going to click that, and that was a radial, so I want to click the radial button here to change that to a radial gradient, and I want it to start with yellow in the middle, so I'm going to click the reverse, and that's where we started, with yellow in the middle and then phase to the blue. And I'm just going to click here in the middle of the V, and I'm going to start to drag. I'm going to drag this all the way out of the picture because I want this gradient to be really huge, remember? And when I let go, I've got my gradient. If I hide the sketch, you can see that that's what I thought I was going to have to start with, or I pretended I did. Really, I knew better, but you know, for purposes of the lesson. So let's re-enable the sketch. Yeah. You know, I like the wood grade on it, but I think it would look better with a different blend mode. So I'm going to select this layer, and let's change the blend mode to Overlay. Yeah, that looks nice. No. Let's move the gradient. I'm going to select the gradient layer and tap V to get the Move tool. And now I can drag the gradient anywhere I want. So I just drag it around. Now because I am dragging the layer and not just the gradient, I have to be careful because if you look in the exclamation point, I can drag off the edge so that I don't see it. Of course, I could fix that if I needed to have the gradient over that far, but I don't. So I'm just going to drag it down here to the bottom of the V and let go. And yeah, no, that's still awfully way bright. Let's add a hue and saturation layer above the gradient. So I'm going to go down here to the pattern adjustment layers and just click hue and saturation, and that opens my hue and saturation dialog box. And now I can move the hue to something that goes better with the trees and turn the saturation way down so that it doesn't look so overly bright. And double click there. That's a little bit better, but let's add the gradient that fades the sketch back again. So I'm just going to click on the mask thumbnail, and that puts the gradient back. And let's move the gradient up a little bit. To do that, I'm going to click on the link that links the sketch and the gradient together to unlink them, and now I can move them independently. So with the Move tool still selected, I can just drag and move this gradient up a little bit. And let's put a tilt on it. I can hold down the Command key and tap T, that's Control T on a PC, to enter free transform mode. And now I can transform it just like I always would. So I can add a tilt, and I can drag out the gradient, make it a little bit smoother, a little larger there. And, well, it's not wonderful, but it's going to have to do for now because we're almost out of time. But the important thing to remember is this is still live type. If I tap T, I can double click on it, and it's still live, and I can still change it. See? And we'll do more next time, but that'll have to do for this time. So until then, this has been Robin Wood, and I hope you found this helpful.